Hello, this is Samantha and Zessie.
It's your boy. More George Phillips E first.
And this is Masculinity.
Bow, bow, bow.
Yes.
Yo, can I get really naked in front of you right here, right now?
Yeah, please do.
Literally.
I couldn't even keep
Just
up
kidding.
my British accent when you said that.
Figuratively.
So, yeah.
Can you see? Nobody else can see, but can you see the hat I'm wearing?
Yeah.
No, but can you really see the hat I'm wearing?
I mean, I could see.
There's boobs on the hat.
It looks like camo.
That's what people think, but it's a woman with boobs.
Let me see.
Now I don't know if I can wear this hat.
What the fuck? You better wear this shit.
I host this podcast called Masculinity, and I wear this hat sometimes that has a
No, this is art.
kind of like a Laotian type thing, you know, like you go to the islands and there's like the deck of cards with the topless woman. I just don't know if I can wear it. I don't know if I feel confident or comfortable.
You have been wearing that
2020,
hat,
post Me Too, host of a podcast called Masculinity, where we unmask the performance of masculinity. I just don't know if I can wear that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So right now...
That's all you're going to give me?
Well, I was going to ask you. So right now, what do you want? Do you want my opinion? Do you want a listening ear? Or do you want some coaching?
Yeah, I'm sure every masculine man out there loves being coached. But sure, why don't you coach me about it?
Actually, I'm not going to give you coaching. Do you want my opinion or do you want me to give you a listening ear?
Oh, just give me your opinion.
I think it's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Well, because it's I think that your hat is very artful, and that woman who took that picture is a model who decided to take that picture, and furthermore, you're celebrating women owning their sexuality by wearing that hat. Really? You don't think so? Let's talk about it. This is Masculinity Podcast. If you can't talk about it here, where can you talk about it, Ramoy? Let's talk about it.
Well, can we just continue the module conversation first?
Okay. I mean, now that you open this can of worms. But yeah, okay, sure. Let's continue.
Okay, so in this particular module, we're going to be talking about addiction, which I'm really excited about. But not just addiction as a whole, but on addiction and its connection to masculinity, hard K. So Samantha, not on your phone. Samantha.
Damn.
Can you drop some... Everybody's on their phone. Samantha. I'm on my phone, let's be honest. Samantha, can you drop some statistical knowledge on us?
It would be my ear pleasure.
Oh, God. Hell yes.
You are so much. All right, so as per statistics coming from the Addiction Center, 11.5% of males over the age of 12 have a substance abuse disorder. And that's compared to 6.4% of females. Now, when it comes to susceptibility, I hope that's how you pronounce that word, men are just more likely to abuse substances due to peer pressure or due to the pressure of being part of a group.
So, okay, as per the Addiction Center's reporting, it's almost 2 times the amount of men have a substance abuse problem compared to women. And the reason that men fall prey to addiction is because of societal pressure. Let's not forget this in this conversation. What else you got?
Well, there's a couple of really interesting quotes that come from the book Addressing the Specific Behavioral Health Needs of Men that comes from the Center of Substance Abuse Treatment. And basically, one is through a process of masculine socialization, which we can interpret this as the performance of masculinity with a hard K, boys learn how they are expected to act, feel, and think, and they often face negative consequences if they fail to meet those expectations. And for centuries, men have been indoctrinated into manhood through highly ritualized rites of passage. Many such conventional manhood rituals are intertwined with excessive alcohol consumption, with alcohol acting as a lubricant for the behaviors or an end in itself. And the third quote, far too frequently, alcohol is substituted for open communication and caring. For example, on reaching legal adulthood at age 21, many men celebrate by getting drunk. Job promotions and sports victories are likewise frequently accompanied by drinking, often to excess. The traditional celebration of the transition from bachelorhood to marriage also often involves alcohol and drug use, which many times drowns out a real need for connection and communication among men.
those are some really incredible notes, and we'll definitely post those links for those resources and statistics online. But I think we need to try to understand that all a little bit better. What you're saying is, and what you found is that masculinity, hard K, is it's like an expected performance that boys learn at a very, very young age, and one of the traditions or rituals that performance demands is alcohol and drugs consumption. And at some point, that consumption becomes a compulsive addiction that men then use unconsciously as like a substitute for communication and connection, right?
Yep. My podcast friend, that is correct. So, but honestly, don't take it from us. You know what I mean? Like, we've got some backup from our resident therapist, Justin Lioi.
Shout out to Justin Lioi.
To drop some knowledge.
I'm going to give him a call right now.
Hello?
Justin?
Ramoy?
Justin.
Ramoy the first?
Justin.
Ramoy?
Like Timberlake, not Timberlake, but you, Justin.
Ramoy
Like Justin Trudeau, but like not brown face, but like real Justin, like in Brooklyn, Justin?
Okay, I think I'm done.
So Justin, we're talking about the connection between substance abuse addiction and masculinity. Would you say that like connection is like a real thing?
A connection between it, absolutely. And I'm glad you said the whole phrase, like substance, although I say substance use, not substance abuse. But substance use is a thing. Add the addiction, add the other stuff, and it gets even worse. I mean, I think, as we've kind of talked about before, like boys, particularly around once you get into 8, 9, 10, and then into the teen years, are really socialized to not show many of the vulnerable feelings. And while anger is allowed, the other stuff isn't. And a great way to deal with, and I put great in quotes, which you can't see because you're not seeing each other, is to deal with, to use substances to like mask those things. So instead of feeling and expressing hurt or fear or shame, you're going to drink something, you're going to take some drugs, and then you either aren't going to feel it, or you're going to get to such a state where then you are showing so much of these feelings that only come out when you are using some kind of substance. And certainly, the earlier that starts, sometimes it's going to be the worst it's going to get if there's no intervention before that. So then we become men in our 20s and 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and the way we deal with anything that is a feeling of any kind is by turning to the substances more and more. So the connection with masculinity is just that masculinity, especially the toxic masculinity that we talk about now, is the deadening of all of those, almost all the things that make us human when it comes to all the vulnerable feelings. And substance use can take the place of that.
How do you think that connection came about or comes about or is installed in society as it is now?
I think with anything else that is, I had someone who used to just talk about all the substances as a type of anesthesia. And certainly it comes about because it's not that we don't feel all those other things, the shame and the guilt and the fear. We still feel them, and we need to get away from it since we're not taught how to express it. So one of the ways that we do that is through substance use. And since as we're talking about and you're talking about so often on the podcast, is that this masculinity as performance is that's one of the things that we have learned to adapt to not being allowed to express certain feelings in our society. Unfortunately, it could have really bad consequences.
So Justin, I think it's best that our audience gets to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah, tell me, what are your thoughts on dogs?
Oh God, I love dogs. Let me tell you all
okay,
about
well,
how much
that's all the time we have for our resident cat hater and Brooklyn therapist, Justin Lioi.
All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Ramoy, you're a man, right? And so you said, oh God. Well, you've said before that, you have worn that mask of masculinity.
Wear a hat with boobs on it, but sure, I wear that mask too.
And you were the one that was adamant, actually, to do this addiction module. So why don't you tell me and all of our amazing listeners why this connection between masculinity, the mask of masculinity with a hard K, and addiction is so important to you?
Look, I'd love to, and I can't wait. And I want to.
But
yo, let's get you out in these streets and let's hear from these New Yorkers out here and what they think about addiction and its connection with the hard gay masculinity.
Okay. So I'm out here in Central Park wanting to find out what people think about the connection between addiction and masculinity with a hard K. So tell me, what is addiction?
There's a certain word to describe, like, just an unhealthy need.
It's really like a mental trap, you know?
You want it, you attracted to it. That's it's something that's pulling you to it.
Habits that aren't necessarily good.
It's like a cloud that doesn't really leave. It's like a daily struggle for most people.
This is me being completely blunt with it.
We're more likely to do it just because of the way society, builds up men and their masculinity.
Men don't have people to talk to. That's why they get addicted, because they have no communication to help them stop.
Well, it's really all about society making them feel like they can't really express how they're feeling.
Let's see. I would guess that there's expecting men to not have feelings.
My father told me you don't talk about your feelings with no one. Your only exception may be your woman. Well, I'm a 5-year-old boy at this point, so I'm looking like, huh? You get a scrape and a boo-boo, it's stop crying, get up. Rub some dirt on it, keep it pushing.
It's not necessarily okay for a guy to be depressed. It's more okay for him to be an alcoholic, for instance. It's more socially acceptable for that.
But when it comes to mental health, we self-medicate more often than we would reach out.
And so the only way to stop that pattern from occurring is to have more and more men to actually step out and be like, same here. I go through the same shit that everyone else does. And that stuff is a part of life. And there's no shame in talking about it.
I'd say preventing it would be eliminating those social pressures that make men feel like it's not okay to ask for help.
To me, in this society we live in, men aren't as open as women, and that's probably why they resort to the kind of things they do. So
me personally, if I was going through something, I would talk it out with someone. I'd be like, yo, man, this is what's happened. I don't know what to do.
Try to find a group of people that they're comfortable talking to so they can get over addiction.
All right, RGP1, it's your turn. Why do you care so much about the connection between addiction and masculinity with a hard K?
Yeah, okay, look, man, when I was a kid, I just remember every movie, every story, everything had people drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes, especially men, and they looked cool and they looked strong and they had this hard resolve and they were tough and they were the epitome of man. Now, I didn't have a father in my life, or really any strong father figure, and again, I just had TVs and movies kind of raising me for the majority of my young adolescent life. So again, I saw these people, these characters, and then they became heroes of mine. They became these said father figures. They became the models, the role models, the mirrors of what I presumed was masculine, or what it meant to be a man. And so I was like, yeah, alcohol must be the greatest thing ever made, and cigarettes must be from the manna of heaven, right? I remember the first time I sipped a beer, a Tecate beer, and I was like, this is it. This is going to fucking taste like ambrosia. I can't wait. And I sipped it, and I was like, what the hell is this fucking pee-pee in my mouth? But like everybody else, the societal pressure was there, and I just committed to it, and I kept drinking. Same with cigarettes. I remember the first cigarette or the first Black and Mild I smoked, and that smoke got inhaled through my throat down into my lungs, and I coughed a lot to a little, and I was like, what are we doing here? But again, all my heroes were doing it. All the TV shows and all the main characters and all the badass men on big screen were telling me otherwise. And after a while, it became a habit, then it became an addiction, and then it became a compulsion that I couldn't stop. And whether it was every social encounter or whether it was every hour or so going outside to take a smoke break, alcohol and cigarettes were very much part of my life and my normal day life. And it was a thing to brag about. It was a thing to be proud about. It was something to share, especially with the men in my life, or to share with female partners or potential partners to show them that I am a man, right? And that I partake in this tradition and I am just as valuable as the man on the screen or the man next to me who is likewise having a drink or having a smoke. And then I got a little older, and some things happened, and I learned some stuff, and then I started questioning that. I was like, why do I have to drink with every social situation? And why do I have to feel pressure? Why do I almost unconsciously feel the need to smoke a cigarette even when I feel disgusting afterwards? And I mined that as far as I could, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because it was an addiction. And then it got so bad that my alcoholism, or my addiction to alcohol, or my need or my compulsion for said alcohol, would give me the freedom of sorts to exacerbate my masculinity even further. And what I mean by that is how we talked about how men don't really get the opportunity to express their emotions when the only way they do is with anger. Was, well, alcohol became that social lubricant to give me the freedom to express all my anger all at once onto all the people I loved and who were nearest me. And what that looked like was just me getting drunk in a bar with people I loved and then turning super vocally violent and angry and just yelling and cursing and demeaning and just being an asshole. And after one time too many of that, I was like, enough is enough. And I stopped, and I was lucky. I don't know how I was able to, or what the situations or the unconscious psychological circumstances were that gave me the ability to just stop cold turkey like that. But I stopped. And ever since then, I knew that there was this idea of addiction and this practical, literal thing of addiction that we talk about in health and wellness and science and so on and so forth. And the idea of the social aspect of it, but the biology of it were equally married, and I wanted to find more about that. And not because I am a man, but because I was able to identify that there was such a strong connection and correlation between the stories I was taught as a kid about what it meant to be a man and the habits that became my adult masculinity.
Well, I mean, I think that the first thing that I want to say to that is that, it takes a lot of courage to stop the train, of just like consistent behavior. And so I just want to like shout you out first and foremost for making that change, because a lot of people don't, and it's hard. A lot of people don't because it's hard. And sometimes a lot of people don't because they don't take the time to stop and really analyze the way that their behaviors are hurting others. And I think, that can actually be compounded by the performance of masculinity because, part of it is to not be introspective, right? Introspection does not necessarily go with expression to be able to kind of like externalize things and then make them different. We expect of men to just swallow it, take it like a champ. And then however it is that you're expressing that destructively, you can take that destruction too because you're strong enough to take it, supposedly, when you're a dude, right? So if I can say, like, in my own experiences with, like, I know that there are relationships in my life with men that I love, like in my family. Not only have I not seen that they're making that change, but also I haven't approached them about, like, opening themselves up. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't provided, like, any kind of a safe space for them, with the exception of maybe, like, my dad, who doesn't actually have like substance stuff, but just being able to have a conversation with somebody where they feel safe to be able to express themselves. Like, I can also take responsibility for the fact that I'm not doing that, right? To kind of piggyback on the conversation that we had on relationships with Robert Kandel. So, addiction is really, really common, and I think that, we treat it as something that's very taboo and like, oh, so-and-so is going through this and they had to like go through a thing and da-da-da. And at the end of the day, it's like if we understand that that's part of like human development, and if we make that something that's actually just standard, then we can have more conversations that don't lead to, that prevent things from getting to that point, And so, yeah, I mean, we're excited to have this conversation. And talking about this for the remainder of the module. We're going to have an amazing guest next episode.
Such a great guest.
Yeah, really great.
So sweet.
Yeah, very sweet. Very, very cool. Dennis Shinsky.
For those who don't know, he's the subject of a documentary called Digging in the Dirt that just aired in the CBC, on the CBC network, which is a Canadian broadcasting network. But we'll have links for that after the episode airs, that you can watch it online and see the trailers and cool stuff like that.
So, yeah, it'll be really great to talk to Dennis.
And then we'll have a handful of people or a few people in here to do another case study. Mm-hmm. Get people across the spectrum and talk about how addiction has affected them, or how they've participated in addiction, or how they've been affected by addiction.
So yeah, you guys make sure to tune in. If you have any things that you want us to, cover in this really important module, please holler at us, Masculinity Podcast at whoistheo.com. You can also use that same name to drop us some stars at all of your favorite podcasting platforms out there on the internet. We just want to thank you for listening, for being part of this conversation.
It's your boy, Ramoy George Philip Lee first.
That's right. And my name is Samantha Nzesi.
Peace.
And this has been Masculinity.
Oh, my bad. I got it. I came early. Peace.
Oh, God. Ciao.